What's up, everybody? Dave's Man Cave. Well, this will be Dave's Gun Cave today. So, picked up a new acquisition. Remember, did a video about a year ago. I picked up the Keltec Sub2000. So, it's a gun everybody should have. I think I paid $470 at the time. The price has gone between $4 and as high as $5 under COVID. But for around a $450-ish, dollar amount to pick up a 9mm PCC, so personal, or PPC or PCC, personal carbine, whatever it is. I might have COVID brain. So in any case, they're small, they fold in half, you can fit them in a backpack very easily. They take Glock 19 mags, or there's some that take Beretta, Smith & Wesson M&P mags, I think SIG. I prefer the Glock 19 because I always have at least a Glock 19, or I'll have I right now have a PSA dagger. And so having your sidearm be able to take the mag and the ammo and just dump it into a gun that's this big and then just folds out, goes click and folds into a rifle, and gives you that, being able to reach out and touch with a little bit longer, longer sight radius. You get more range because you got a longer barrel, so you pick up a little bit of power on the 9mm. You shoot a 9mm plus P out of a 16-inch barrel, you pick up a good bit of power out of it. It's not going to be a rifle, but as far as like a rifle caliber, but you are going to pick up some good power out of it. And the thing that for me, I like to use an optic. You had to use the sights that it came with. It was very versatile, very handy, very stowable, slip under the seat of your car. Like I said, take the mags back and forth between the rifle and your what have you, your sidearm. Very cool idea. And there were always things, there's always things you can say, well, it'd be better if they did this, or if you could tweak that, it would make it even better. Keltec listened. Now, I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship with Keltec because they come out with these amazing designs. You see these guns and you're like, wow, this is like futuristic and high-tech. And then the reality is a lot of them just didn't work as well as you would want them to. You might get one that worked really well. The KSG, very cool. 15 rounds of 12 gauge and 15 plus 1 in a bullpup design, but you had to be careful how you pumped it and stuff like that because you could short chuck it real easy. But there's always been one, and there's been more than one, but in my experience, there's always one that I've had several friends have had them, and they were flawless because of their simplicity. They're just really good working. May not be the prettiest, but they work. And that's been the Keltec Sub2000. So they just came out with the Gen 3. We have an empty mag. This is brand new. See, empty mag takes a standard P mag or Glock mags for the Glock 19 or anything bigger. I tend to go with the 19 because that's the shortest handle. I can always put 17 mags. I can put in the 27 round mags. I can put in whatever else. But if you have a Glock 19 and you get the 17, then the 19 mags won't go in far enough. You can always have the shorter handle and use longer mags. You can't use the shorter mags with the longer handle. So my gun store sends out a local gun store, Georgia gun store up in Gainesville. They send out an email every day of what comes in stock. And I just happened to be on a call this morning for work, and I saw it, and I saw the email come by, and so as soon as I was done, I'm like, Mike, is that for the Glock 19? He's like, it is. I said, mine. I will swing by at lunchtime and pick it up. So what have they improved? Well, they've redesigned the back end, the fore end, the charging handle, as well as the grip a little bit, and they put a new trigger in it. So there's a lot of things going on, and they really didn't raise the price at all. So what you have here is a gun that folds in half. Right now it's inert, nothing in there. You can actually look down the barrel, right? There's nothing in there, there's nothing in here. The magazine, which is empty, is on the table. It's inert, it's a paperweight, until you fold it. Now before this, see how I'm rotating this? This piece never rotated. And so there was not a flaw. It worked exactly as it was designed to work, but it was a limitation in that, yeah, you had this accessory rail up here, but when you would fold the gun in half, if you had a red dot or something up there, it would bang into it. You couldn't close it. So then you'd have to go to Midwest Industries or M Carbo and get a special mount that would flip off to the side. And it was extra weight, extra cost. extra complexity, extra things to break. And so I always just use the iron sights, of which you had to kind of use theirs. Or, I mean, I guess you could have taken them off and tried to, maybe M Carbo would replace them. But you couldn't use like AR-15 standard, like backup sights and things like that, because the way it folded up, and your accessory rail really wasn't useful for anything. Because if you wanted to fold it, it wouldn't. Well, guess what? They made it now so that it rotates either way. And it's good that it rotates either way because I put a green, Viridian green laser sight on that, along with my backup sights. But now instead of rotating up, and I don't have to worry about it only going one way and it would smacking into the sight, because you're like, oh, that wouldn't work. Well, it's okay. I can rotate it either way. If I was a lefty, then I would put my laser maybe on the right. I have it oriented this way so that my thumb is right there and I can turn that on. So really, really cool design. And they got rid of it. It doesn't come with any sights. I happen to have a whole bunch of spare parts in my gun room, so I just have a pair of Magpul backup sights, which are far better than the ones that used to come on the old one. They're easier to adjust. I just prefer them. I also now have space to put a red dot with the same thing, so that when I come in here, I will put the red dot on the top, obviously, and then when I disassemble it, you rotate it to the side, it will now be off to the side and won't be getting pinched or preventing this from closing and locking into the stowed position. This right now can't go anywhere. So that is the biggest change. They've also added a metal flat face trigger. Now it's not a match grade trigger. It's not like a Geisley or my LaRue MBT that's on some of my more precision AR-15s. But it is an improvement over the one that it had. So they listened and gave that. The lockup was nice and tight. I don't have a spare red dot. I'm probably going to get another one of those Vortados. Or Furtado? No, that's the breakfast sandwich. Anyway, there's one that I had that I put on an AR-15 that I love. It's really nice. It looks good. It's only about $80. And it's been reliable. It's actually the same. It's that brand right there. Votatu. They're nicely made. They're nice anodized aluminum. They seem to hold up well every time I've shot the thing and hold zero. So, but it does have a nicer, again, no mag. It's got a nicer trigger pull to it. It's not awesome. I'm not going to try to oversell it, but it is better than it was. It feels better. It being metal before the polymer, you'd feel it flex a little, and it wasn't as crisp. So you're pulling it, and part of it is it flexing and not necessarily moving the trigger mechanism. So it had a lot more take up. This feels much better. It's kind of while it is curved, it is also flat. It's not rounded. It's just a really much better feeling trigger. It feels more precise because there's no flex in it anymore. So that's the second big improvement. The first one is redoing the whole front end to now allow you to just flip your optics and things out of the way and fold it, whereas the old model would not allow you to do that if you had an optic, not without a bunch of extra parts. So now you got a better trigger. This still adjusts and has your QD points and stuff. You actually can use these holes right here. I'll have to put a QD mount up here. It does have M-lock, so I will put a QD mount up front. Let's see, what else? Well, the charging handle. The old one was much smaller, and so a bunch of people would go and get the rubber insert or get the M Carbo. The M Carbo one might still be a little better, but this is a vast improvement over the old one. The old one worked. It's just a comfort thing. When you pull, there's so much spring pressure. The smaller this is, the more that pressure is concentrated on a smaller area of your finger. It's just a little bit comfortable. If you're gonna be at the range all day pulling on that thing, it's nice. What you'll also see is the setup now for lefty and righty. So when I'm here, I pull it here and I rotate it to the right. And then if I had a loaded magazine in there, which again, safety, I don't, empty magazine on the table, no magazine here, you would just slap that. It is reciprocating, but honestly, I've never been hit by it. It sits well out of the way. But if I'm a lefty, I can pull this back and pull it to the other side. I don't have to reach around and do this weird thing here. I would use it as a lefty, just as ergonomic as if I'm a righty. So they put that in there. I don't know why. I mean, all they had to do is just cut out a little bit of that stamped steel or whatever this tube is. They just needed to put that recess on both sides. Very small thing, very small mod, but for the lefties out there, that actually makes a difference. So Keltec actually listened to what people said. They loved the Keltec Sub2000. It has this like cult-like following because again, it just works. It's a great little gun. But now it's very comfortable. The only thing I'm going to add to this is M Carbo sells like a little rubber kind of neoprene pad thing that goes over this. And the reason for that is that because the buffer tube is in here, it's a blowback design. You got a heavy steel buffer here. You do have that sort of recoil, that shock does travel through the metal and into your cheek. Now it's not going to hurt you, but if you went and shot like 300 rounds in a day, your cheek will be a little tender. If you're just picking it up and using it as a nightstand gun or self-defense and you popped off 3 rounds or took a coyote out in the backyard, not a problem. But that little piece of rubber there will actually fit because there is enough room in here that will fit nicely in there and this won't be hitting it. You've got just enough gap for that to be in there and not get in the way. This is a great little carbine. The improvements they made to this are very welcome. I'm going to be adding a red dot. I will get this to the range and do a shooting review. Here's the other thing, threaded barrel. So I can go now and I'm going to go ahead and get a suppressor. I've ordered one for my 22, my TX22 compact pistol from Taurus, as well as my Ruger Precision 22 rifle that's got like a Vortex Viper PST. You know, the scope's more than the rifle, but I'm going to put the can on that. I'm going to get a 9mm suppressor that I can put on this or screw onto the PSA Dagger sidearm. So again, now I've got a good suppressor platform. It does come with a thread protector. You just tighten that on, leave it on, make sure you don't lose it. But all you do is open it up, rotate it, snap it into place, and boom, you're ready to rock and roll. Deploy your sights, or if you're using a red dot, you know, especially if you get, that one has, I think, shake awake. So just replace the batteries once every year. And as soon as you pick it up, that red sight's already ready to go. If for some reason the battery went dead, you know, then you got your backup sights. Pop them up, make sure they're sighted in. You've also got the laser. So I'm gonna have 3 sighting systems on this. This is gonna be like the sort of shit hits the fan little gun, as well as just a cool little plinker. But as a home defense gun, yeah, I've got shotguns and things, but if you wanted something really small that you could fold up, take somewhere, take it on vacation with you, whatever, and have your sidearm and a rifle in the same caliber with the same mags, but now I'd have an optic. I wouldn't have the basic kind of rudimentary sights that I had before. I got proper mag pulls. You can go get Troy Arm. You know, there's other high-end folding sights you can put on here if you want. Troy battle sights or something like that. You got a laser, which is probably more of a visual deterrent than anything when you're using a weapon like this, because the way it's on the side, you have to sight it in for the range that you want, basically, because the bullet's going straight, but the sight's coming from a side, so there's a point where they intersect and the point of aim is going to hit the point of impact. Before that, it might be shooting a little to the left. Past that range, it's going to be shooting to the right. So the laser's only really good for CQB. I know on TV you see the sniper. Snipers never use laser sights because it gives away the fact that there's a sniper about to smoke your ass. So I don't know why they do that in TV. But the laser's only really good for, you know, you'd sight it in for 10 yards or something like that, 10, 12, 15 yards, something within that range, so that you could shoot from the hip, you could shoot from one hand, whatever you are, you know that if you're in that range, that basically wherever the dot is where the bullet's going to hit. You don't have to worry about lining up or doing anything. You could have it down here and still be right on target and know where that bullet's going to land. That's the benefit of the laser. I know some people think they're tactical, but in CQB, if you're defending yourself in your house, it actually has value, because there's no point, unless you have like a mansion, which I don't, you know, the longest hallway or corridor anywhere in my house is going to be within 15 yards. The house is wider than that, but there's walls and rooms in between. So the longest, clearest line of sight I have maybe from the top of the stairs down the hallway into the master bedroom might be 15 yards, maybe. And so that's where I'm going to sight this in at the range. And that way I know anywhere up to that range or just slightly after, I'm going to be within, you know, I'm going to be within an inch or two. I'm going to be right there. So that is the new Gen 3. I'll get a range review of it. This is just the unboxing, so don't bust my balls because, hey, you didn't shoot the gun. I know, it's in the title. It's an unboxing. It's an impressions, and I wanted to go over the key differences of what they improved. They took a really solid design that they've been selling for 2 decades And now the third generation just took it to that next level. Probably because Smith & Wesson and some other companies were coming out with PCCs, Ruger as well. And they felt like in order to stay current, they had to up their game. And as long as it shoots as well as all the other ones I've ever owned have, I think I got a hit on their hands. So I've got to get into another meeting, so I had to crank this out real quick. Everybody have a good day, be safe, and we'll talk to you later.